When I arrived at my farm that Friday evening, I didn't expect to feel my chest tighten with a strange mix of fear and disbelief. The sun had just started to dip behind the old oak trees, casting long shadows across the fields I had cared for my entire life. I parked my old truck by the barn and stepped out, expecting the usual quiet peace, the kind that makes you take a deep breath and feel at home. But something was off. As I walked toward the farmhouse, I noticed the front door was slightly ajar. At first, I thought maybe I had forgotten to lock it the day I left. But then I heard voices. My son's voice. And my daughter-in-law's. They were laughing. Or maybe arguing? I couldn't tell. The sound froze me in place for a moment. My hands tightened around the strap of my bag, and a pit opened in my stomach. I pushed the door open slowly. What I saw made my heart ache. My own furniture, pieces I had spent years saving for, decorating the home with, arranging just so, were being carried out. Carried out. My son, the boy I had raised from a chubby little toddler into a man, was lifting my favorite armchair. My daughter-in-law, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, was nudging the antique dresser toward the truck. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to shout. I wanted to stop them, but my legs felt heavy. I felt trapped in a sudden, horrifying daydream. Why are you taking this? I heard myself ask, voice barely a whisper. My son froze for a moment, glanced at me, and then shrugged, saying something that made no sense. My daughter-in-law just smiled and kept moving. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there, letting the world spin around me. There was something surreal about the moment, the kind of silence that screams louder than words ever could. My memories of this house flashed through my mind. My husband and I decorating the living room, our laughter echoing as the children ran through the hall, the quiet Sunday mornings spent drinking coffee by the window. Every piece of furniture carried a memory, a story, a part of my life. And now, it was leaving. I felt a strange calm settle over me, even though my heart was breaking. I realized in that moment that this wasn't just about furniture. This was about respect, about love, about the family I had trusted. And somewhere buried under the shock and hurt, I felt a whisper of determination. I had to understand why. I had to see this through, not out of anger, but out of the quiet hope that maybe there was a reason, a mistake, a misunderstanding that could still be fixed. I stepped back and let them continue. I watched the truck fill up, and with each item lifted, my heart ached more. But I told myself, I am stronger than this pain. I will not lose myself in anger today. Somehow, some way, I would find a way through. And that's when I noticed the note taped to the back of the armchair, a small piece of paper that would change everything. I've lived on this farm my entire life. The soil, the trees, the old barn, they are part of me, just like my children are. My husband passed away a few years ago, and since then, I've poured all my energy into maintaining the farm and raising my son, Michael. I've always believed in hard work and honesty. Every plant, every fence, every corner of this house carries a piece of my heart. Michael has always been a good boy. At least, I thought so. From the time he could barely ride a bike, he'd be helping me in the fields, learning the names of every tree, every animal. I remember the pride swelling in my chest when he graduated high school, the way his eyes sparkled when he promised he would take care of the family farm one day. That promise gave me peace. Then came Anna. She was polite at first, shy, almost too quiet. I remember the day she moved in, carrying a few boxes, smiling nervously, as if unsure whether she truly belonged here. I welcomed her with open arms, hoping she would feel like part of our family. And for a while, it seemed she did. Michael looked happy, and that was all that mattered to me.
Life settled into a routine. Mornings were spent in the kitchen, drinking coffee while watching the sunrise. Afternoons were for tending the garden, feeding the chickens, or walking through the fields. Michael and Anna would help when they could, though over time I noticed her visits to the farm were less frequent. She would often stay at home, busy with her own world, leaving Michael to work alongside me. I told myself it was normal, that every young couple has their own life. But lately, there had been subtle changes. Anna's laughter no longer felt genuine. Conversations around the table became tense, small disagreements turning into long silences. Michael seemed distracted, often glancing at his phone, his shoulders heavier than before. I didn't want to believe it, but something was shifting between us, between the family I loved and the life I had built. I kept thinking about the note I had seen taped to my chair that evening. It was small, almost insignificant at first glance, but it felt heavy in my hands. My mind kept replaying every moment, every word, every glance I had overlooked. I started remembering little things, doors left unlocked, hushed whispers, the way Anna would occasionally glance at my belongings as if calculating. Each memory weighed down on me, making my chest tighten. Despite the unease, I reminded myself, my son is still the boy I raised. I trusted him. I hoped there was an explanation for everything, a misunderstanding that could be cleared up. I told myself that patience and calm would guide me through this storm. I didn't yet know how deep the betrayal ran, or how my own home, the place I had protected all my life, was about to feel like a stranger's territory. But one thing I was sure of, I had to face it with clarity and courage. Because this wasn't just about furniture, it was about family. It was about love, and most of all, it was about the truth. If you've ever felt hurt by someone you love, stay with me, because the next will reveal the first cracks in my family's facade. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this. Over the next few days, I tried to act as if everything was normal. I cleaned the house, tended the garden, and fed the animals, all while pretending I didn't notice the tension building between Michael and Anna. But the air felt heavier. Every glance, every word seemed to carry an unspoken weight. I kept replaying that moment when I saw them moving my furniture, the shock, the silence, the ache in my chest, and I couldn't shake it. It started with small things. Anna would avoid me in the kitchen, whispering to Michael instead. I would catch them laughing quietly in the living room, but it wasn't the warm, shared laughter I remembered from family dinners. Something had shifted, and I could feel it in the way the house itself seemed colder, emptier, less like home. One afternoon, I walked into the living room, thinking I could join them for a cup of tea, but I froze at the sight of Michael sitting on the sofa, looking guilty, while Anna held a list of things, my things. "Mom, we need to talk," Michael said, his voice hesitant. My stomach sank. "About what?" I asked, keeping my tone calm, though my hands trembled slightly. He said, "About the furniture, about the house." He avoided my eyes. I felt the tension tighten around my chest. I took a slow breath. "I don't understand," I said softly. "This is my home, my things." Anna stepped forward, smiling, but it was a sharp, forced smile. "Mom, it's just stuff. We can figure it out." But it didn't feel like just stuff. Each piece of furniture carried memories. My husband's favorite chair, the dresser I painted myself, the table where we celebrated birthdays. I realized then that this wasn't about objects. It was about control, about respect. The conversations became more frequent and more strained. Michael would apologize quietly, saying he didn't know how to handle things. Anna would insist they were only trying to organize the house. But I could feel the truth behind their words, a disregard for what this home had meant to me, for the life I had built with my own hands. One evening, I found a receipt in the trash, for items purchased to replace my furniture. My heart sank. They weren't just moving things temporarily, they were erasing the pieces of my life I had cherished. I sat quietly in my bedroom, staring at the walls, feeling the ache of betrayal settle deep in my bones. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but I stayed silent. Instead, I began watching carefully, listening, noticing small patterns, how they spoke when I was around, how they planned things without telling me, how Michael's eyes seemed apologetic yet distant. It became clear that this tension wasn't going away on its own. Something had to break. Something had to be revealed before it could be resolved. I realized in those quiet, heavy moments that I was standing at the edge of a storm I couldn't ignore. And no matter how much it hurt, I knew I had to face it head on. Because if I didn't, the house, the home I loved so dearly, would no longer feel like mine at all. It all came to a head one rainy evening. The sky was dark, the kind of gray that seeps into your bones. I had been in the kitchen, trying to finish some chores, when I heard the truck start up outside. I peeked through the window and froze. My favorite rocking chair, the one my husband used to sit in while reading the newspaper, was being loaded into the back. I walked outside slowly, rain soaking my coat, heart pounding. Michael and Anna looked up at me, startled. I wanted to run toward them, to grab the chair, to stop them, but I stopped myself. I had to know, I had to understand what was happening. "Why are you taking this, all of it?" I asked, my voice trembling, but quieter than I felt. Anna looked at me, her smile tight, almost artificial. "Mom, we're just reorganizing," she said, but her tone lacked conviction. Michael hesitated. "Mom, we thought maybe it's better if we start fresh," he said slowly, avoiding my eyes. "You've got the farm, we just—" His voice trailed off, and I could see the guilt and fear in his face. But I knew then, this wasn't just about starting fresh. This was about replacing me, pushing me aside in the home I had nurtured for decades. My hands clenched, not in anger, but in quiet hurt. Every piece of furniture being carried away was a memory being erased. My husband's laughter, the birthdays, the mornings with Michael as a boy, all being stripped from my life. I turned and went inside, my body shaking. I needed to see the note again, the small piece of paper taped to the back of my armchair. I held it in my hands and read the words, a list of things they had planned to move or sell. It was deliberate. It wasn't a mistake. They were taking over my life, my home, and my memories. I sat on the edge of my bed and cried quietly. Not loud, not angry, just tears of deep sadness and betrayal. The pain of realizing that your own child, the one you raised with love, could participate in something like this was crushing. But in that moment, I also felt something else, a spark of clarity. I realized I had a choice. I could let this betrayal break me, or I could face it with quiet strength. I didn't need to fight with anger. I didn't need to scream. I needed to confront the truth, to protect what was mine, and to decide how to move forward. The rain tapped gently against the window, and I felt a strange calm settle over me. I knew that the next steps I took would change everything. I had been pushed to the edge, and now it was time to stand firm, not out of revenge, but out of love for myself and for the home I had built with my own hands. If you've ever felt the heartbreak of being pushed aside by someone you love, stay with me, because the story isn't over yet. The hardest part, facing them and the truth, is coming next. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this. The next morning, I woke up early, before the sun had even risen. The farm was quiet, the fields still dripping from the rain. I walked slowly through the house, taking in the emptiness. My furniture was gone, and with it, the warmth that once filled every corner. It hurt, more than I could put into words, but I knew I couldn't stay trapped in sorrow. I had to face Michael and Anna to understand why they had done this. I found them in the kitchen, awkwardly sipping coffee, avoiding eye contact. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Michael, Anna," I said softly, "I need to understand. Why are you doing this?" Michael's eyes met mine for the first time, filled with guilt. "Mom, I thought you wouldn't be happy with how things were," he started, voice shaking. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I wanted a fresh start." Anna nodded, looking down at her hands. "Mom, I didn't realize how much it would hurt you. We thought we were helping, organizing. I didn't think it would feel like taking over." Hearing their words, a wave of sadness washed over me, but underneath it, I felt something else, understanding. They weren't trying to destroy me. They were young, maybe scared, maybe selfish in their own way, but not cruel. I realized that part of the pain I felt wasn't just about the furniture. It was about feeling invisible in my own home, feeling like the life I built didn't matter. I sat down slowly at the edge of the counter, looking at them both. "I love you," I said quietly, "but you have to understand, this is my home, my memories. When you take my things, it feels like you're taking a part of me." Michael reached for my hand. "I understand, Mom. I'm sorry. We didn't think. We'll make it right." Anna nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I promise, Mom. We'll respect your home. We'll fix this." That day, we spent hours putting things back where they belonged. The process wasn't perfect, and the furniture couldn't bring back every memory lost in the moment, but it was a start. And as I watched Michael and Anna working beside me, I realized something important. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the hurt didn't happen. It means choosing love, choosing family, and choosing to rebuild what was broken. By evening, the house felt warm again. The sunlight poured through the windows, lighting up corners that seemed cold and empty. I knew this was a turning point, not just for them, but for me too. I had learned that even when those you love make mistakes, compassion and communication can heal what seemed lost. I finally understood that family isn't perfect. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes painful, but it's also resilient. And as long as we're willing to face the truth with honesty and love, there's always a way forward. As the days passed, the tension in the house slowly began to ease. Michael and Anna became more considerate, more present, and I started to feel the warmth of home return. The farm, the furniture, the rooms, they were still mine. But more than that, I realized that the love and memories within these walls couldn't be taken away by anyone. They were a part of me, and no action, no misunderstanding could erase that. I spent a quiet afternoon sitting on the porch, watching the sun dip behind the fields. The wind rustled through the trees, and I thought about how life often tests us in ways we never expect. I thought about the shock I felt when I first saw my furniture being moved, the heartbreak of feeling pushed aside, and the confusion that lingered for days. But I also thought about the strength I found in those moments, the calm I had forced myself to hold, the patience I practiced, and the willingness to understand rather than immediately condemn. Looking back, I understood something very important. Family isn't always easy. Sometimes those we love make mistakes. Sometimes their choices hurt us, even when they don't mean to. But if we can face those moments with honesty, with communication, and with the courage to forgive, the bond can become stronger than before. Pain doesn't have to break us. It can teach us, guide us, and show us what truly matters. I also realized that protecting a home isn't just about keeping furniture or possessions in place. It's about holding on to memories, traditions, and the love that fills the rooms. It's about being present, being patient, and being willing to see the hearts of those around us, even when their actions are confusing or hurtful. That day, I decided that I wouldn't let anger or resentment control my life. I would choose calm, understanding, and care. Michael and Anna learned too. They began asking before making decisions, sharing their thoughts, and listening to mine. Slowly, the farm felt like home again. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but it was ours, built on both love and lessons learned. And in that, I found peace. Sometimes life will challenge you in ways that feel unfair. Sometimes the people you love will hurt you without meaning to. But in those moments, if you can hold on to patience, reflection, and love, you can find a way through. I learned that even when the world seems to push you aside, your heart and your memories are yours to keep. So, to anyone watching this story, cherish your home, your family, and the quiet strength within you. Life isn't perfect, but love and understanding can heal even the deepest wounds. And sometimes the greatest lessons come from the hardest days. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this. Weeks turned into months, and the farm slowly returned to the rhythm I remembered from years ago. The fields were full and green, the chickens happily clucking, and the sun rising each morning as if nothing had ever happened. But I knew things had changed, not in the farm, but in the heart of my family and in my own. Michael and Anna began showing a level of care I hadn't seen before. They asked before moving anything, helped with chores without being asked, and made a genuine effort to include me in decisions about the house and the farm. It wasn't forced, it was natural. Slowly, the walls that had felt cold and distant began to warm again. The home I had feared was lost had returned, in a way stronger than before. I realized that the real lesson wasn't about furniture or possessions. It was about respect, communication, and understanding. I had spent so many years giving love and guidance, but I hadn't realized how important it was for them to feel heard, just as it was important for me to be respected. By opening my heart and staying calm in the hardest moments, I had given them a chance to grow, and in turn, I had growing too. One afternoon, I found Michael and Anna sitting at the old kitchen table, smiling, talking quietly. I watched them for a moment, a soft smile on my face. "It feels like home again," I said, almost to myself. Michael looked up and nodded. "We've learned, Mom," he said. "We'll never take this for granted again." Anna reached out and held my hand. "We're sorry for the hurt we caused," she said softly. "We understand now how much this means to you." My heart swelled with a quiet gratitude. I knew their words were sincere, and that gave me hope. Hope that even when mistakes happen, there is always a chance to rebuild. I also reflected on myself. I realized that life is full of moments that challenge us, that test our patience and strength. Sometimes the people we love most will hurt us without meaning to. But if we approach these situations with calmness, clarity, and compassion, we can find understanding and healing. I learned that strength isn't about shouting or punishing. It's about holding steady, listening, and acting with love. The farm, the house, the furniture, they were more than objects. They were symbols of family, memory, and resilience. And while the experience had been painful, it had taught me to trust again, to forgive, and to cherish every moment we have together. I finally understood that life's challenges aren't meant to break us. They're meant to show us what truly matters, the love we give, the relationships we nurture, and the strength we carry quietly in our hearts. Months have passed since that rainy day when I first saw my furniture being carried out of my home. The memories of shock, betrayal, and heartache still linger, but they no longer weigh me down. Instead, they serve as reminders of how fragile relationships can be and how strong love and patience can make them again. Michael and Anna have changed in ways I didn't expect. They are more thoughtful, more attentive, and more aware of the love and history embedded in this home. I see it in the way Anna now carefully tends the garden with me, how she pauses to ask before rearranging anything, and how she genuinely listens when I share stories from the past. Michael's smile is calmer, steadier, and I can see the care in his eyes when he speaks about the farm, about family, and about the life we are building together. The house has begun to feel whole again. Each piece of furniture, each corner of the farm carries not only my memories, but the new ones we are creating together. And though the pain of that betrayal will always be a part of our story, it no longer defines it. What defines it now is growth. Mine, theirs, and ours as a family. I've come to understand that life doesn't always unfold as we expect. People we love may disappoint us. They may make choices that hurt us deeply, even without realizing it. But what matters is how we respond. We can choose anger, resentment, or silence, letting bitterness settle in. Or we can choose patience, understanding, and forgiveness, letting the love that brought us together guide us forward. Sitting on the porch one evening, watching the sun set over the fields, I reflected on everything that had happened. I realized that my home is more than walls and furniture. It is built from moments, from patience, from laughter and tears, from the willingness to face the hard truths and work through them. And that is what makes a family strong. Not perfection, but resilience, love, and the ability to forgive and grow. I want anyone watching this story to remember something important. Life will challenge you. People you love may hurt you, sometimes deeply, but strength doesn't come from holding grudges. It comes from calm, from compassion, and from believing in the love that still exists. Even after betrayal, even after mistakes, there is always a way forward if we are willing to choose understanding. So as I sit here, listening to the quiet hum of the farm, I know one thing for certain. Love and patience are far stronger than hurt and fear. And if we hold on to them, even the deepest wounds can heal, and a home, a heart, can feel whole again. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this.